So before I started this reading this morning, I kept hearing that things are getting weird. Things are getting weird. It's just, I kept like hearing in my head, like things are getting weird this morning. I was in the shower and I was like, things are getting weird. Things are getting weird. And so, and I keep seeing it on TikTok all over the place too, of like people that are like spiritual people are feeling like really tired recently, and there's just a collective like weird energy going on. And weird is like the only way I feel I can describe it, because even like me and my best friend, me and my mom, we were talking about this the other day of like weird things keep happening. They're not inherently bad. They're just like, that was weird. That was strange. And I like to call them alignment checks, is like when something happens that is like, it's not necessarily inherently bad, but you kind of just get like booped. You're like, oh wait, yes. Because recently, every time something like that has happened, because I've had a couple of these kind of like weird experiences in the last like couple months to couple weeks where I was like, that was weird. The sun's in my eyes. I was like, that was a weird experience. I'm not really sure like why that happened. Like it was just like, it was a sudden change that was like not inherently detrimental, but like kind of like, okay, that was strange, right? And I feel like this collective is having a lot of those. And what I was gonna say though is every time I've been experiencing one of those like weird experiences, in the like even like a couple hours after, a couple days after, something else happens that's not entirely related to the original thing, but it kind of is, and it's a development within myself. So for example, like I lost my family doctor, which in Canada, like there's a really long list to get family doctors, and I was given a new one right away, and I was like, oh, this is great, right? And my last family doctor was like really bad, and he like wouldn't see patients, and he wouldn't run any tests. And then I found out, I was like, I'm iron deficient. It just like nobody said anything or ran any tests, so that was good. You know, I was like, oh, that's good, like now I get to hopefully not be so tired all the time, and hopefully not feel sick all the time, and not have headaches, right? And so I feel like this is a collective that is like, you can sense the weirdness, you've been going through the weirdness, you've been experiencing the weirdness, and like I said, this is a collective shift. I was talking to my friend who I haven't talked to in a while, my best friend, and I was like, do you feel do you feel this? And she was like, oh my god. And she's not even like super spiritual. She's actually not spiritual at all. She doesn't believe in anything. But she's like open to it, you know. She likes to hear me yap, right? And she was like, yes, like things keep happening to her, right? I'm not gonna talk about them because that's her business, right? And I was like, oh my god, like this is crazy. So I just feel like that is like the basis of this collective, right? That's if you don't resonate with that, then maybe this isn't your reading, but if you do, let's get into it. Right off the bat, we have the Judgment card. Yep. Oh, I'm so clumsy. Okay, we have the Judgment card, which Judgment is always about alignment. Judgment is always about Judgment Day. And when I see Judgment, to me, this card is always divine alignment, which is kind of already what I was kind of talking about, right? Like, we're realigning, we're coming back into alignment. And with the Hermit reverse follows it. This is after a period of deep like withdrawal, isolation, and like I feel like this is a period of maybe 1 to 2 years, maybe a couple months. Like I'm thinking 6 months and more. A deep period of isolation and withdrawal. But the Hermit is reversed, and when the Hermit's reversed, that is calling you back out of your shell, back into the world, right? So these alignment checks are happening to call you back into the world that you once were in. And so I feel like for a lot of collective here, what happened was you went through an experience that caused a spiritual withdrawal, and you went inwards to explore yourself spiritually. Basically, this period of inwardness was going to last as long as it took to develop some sort of alignment on your spiritual path with Judgment. So there's some wound, because there's 3 of Swords here, right? Some wound that had to be worked on and developed in order to advance on your path. Judgment is divine path. Judgment is divine alignment. All those good things. Divine timing. There's a man. there's a man outside. All those good things, right? That is what judgment is, right? And so when we go inwards on this spiritual journey, there's a period of time that I feel like you guys are in called the transition period where you have to now ease yourself out of this deep exploration. Not entirely, but you have to ease yourself out and back into the world again to share what you've learned, right? My neighbor just looked at me. Hi. Just a crazy girl talking to her phone in her sunroom. Hey. I feel like for a lot of this collective, this transition is a bit difficult because this was a period of like such like deep work and like pain and like, like the Three of Swords. The Three of Swords in traditional tarot is literally a heart with 3 swords stabbed into it. That's not fun, And so for this collective, there's a little bit of like, I don't want to say fear because I don't think this collective like resonates with the traditional concept of like fear and anxiety. I think it's more of like an apprehension and an acknowledgement of difference, if that makes sense. Like you're kind of like, I'm different. I don't know if I want to go back to the way things were. And that's the thing. I'm itchy, sorry. I look like I'm itching my crotch. I'm not. I'm not itching my crotch, guys. It's just my legs. But I feel like the disconnect here of this collective, because the Seven of Cups follows the Hermit reverse. So there's a call to come back out of your shell and back into the world, right? But the Seven of Cups, you're not really quite sure how to do it. You feel like it's a little bit overwhelming. You feel like there's a lot of choices, a lot of decisions, a lot of like, you're not really sure where you want to go next out of this transition period. And so this transition period is a period of time right now that is existing to give yourself the opportunity to view where you want to go next. So I feel like what a lot of people are struggling with right now in this collective with the Seven of Cups, what I'm getting is you have a hard time now that you've gone inward and you've seen how like simple life is. And when I say that, I don't mean like your life is simple and boring. I mean that in the sense of like you've kind of like realized that like, oh, like maybe life isn't all about working every single day. Maybe life isn't about like dedicating myself to one single path every single day, right? I think when you maybe like disconnected from the traditional kind of world that we live in, you kind of realized the opportunities that lie in that kind of thinking. You know what I mean? That freedom that comes with that kind of thinking. And so the Seven of Cups is like, oh my God, I have too many options. Like this cat, he's got too many food bowls. He's like, I don't know which one to choose. I don't know which one to eat from, And so he's got like a little bit of analysis paralysis. But I feel like particularly for this collective, it's a group of people that now that they see how full life can be, like even though this was a period of introspection and like pain, you're coming out of it on the other side realizing that like you can create anything, you can manifest anything. And then when you can manifest anything, it becomes, oh my God, if I can manifest anything, what am I going to manifest, right? And so this transition period, as you're going out of the Hermit phase into the Judgment, aligning with your divine path, you are being called in this transition phase to wrap up any old wounds that might be inhibiting this decision making and really just kind of sit with yourself for a little bit. I feel like some of you, although you have worked on a wound for a really long time, you might have forgotten the most important phase of healing, which is reparenting yourself after it. I feel like some of you might have done like the really like deep stuff, like crying over childhood, analyzing the wound, working through it, saying this is why it's here, this is why it's happening. I know all the logical stuff of it, but you haven't done the part where you fix it. Does that make sense? What I'm trying to say is, like, let's say in my personal life, I have a validation wound, and my validation wound was stopping me, 11:11 on the timer, from connecting with this channel as much as I wanted to, because I was constantly seeking validation and I couldn't validate myself. The reason that it was disconnecting me from the channel was because I was using this as a way to feed my validation. Like, obviously, I love tarot. I want to do tarot. It's a big part of who I am. Like, I've been studying tarot for like 7 years. Actually, I think longer than that. But my validation was getting in the way of this connection, right? And recently, I just had a big breakthrough with my validation wound. And I realized, like, it came down from the fact that I am very afraid of my own emotions, and so I just don't validate them, right? And so now that I've realized that, like, that was the final step of, like, actualization, was, like, realizing that that wound was there. Because I always knew the validation wound was there. I found that out, like, a couple years ago. But I didn't really realize, like, how to work with that, right? Now I'm, like, validating myself and acknowledging that I don't have to invalidate my own emotions to validate other people's emotions. And if people ask me to do that, that is not something that I want to keep in my life, right? Like, that was my main problem, was I would invalidate myself and push my feelings down to make sure that other people were okay, right? So I learned that validating my emotions was dangerous. Period. So that's what I've been working on, right? I'm working on the actualization part now, which is saying, no, my emotions are okay to feel, and validating them when they come up, you know? So that might be a part that maybe you haven't done yet, or maybe you need to build up that part of you that was hurt, if that makes sense. Like, this transition period might be preparing you for the next step by rebuilding that part of you, right? Your confidence, whatever was wounded, right? Because we have the devil reversed here, and when the devil's upright, it's addiction, it's, a negative self-thought, pretty much anything that the mind imposes on us. And when it's reversed, it shows that we are freeing ourselves from it. 15:15 on the timer, if that is resonant for anybody. The devil reversed is always a really positive sign for me, because it shows that we have the ability to overcome those thoughts and those feelings and those addictions, right? Because remember, you can be addicted to negative self-thought, right? And so when it's reversed, this is a period of releasing that. The devil came after the Three of Swords. So like I said, period of pain. And you just might have to lose that, I don't want to say lose, but loosen that pain mindset and that super, like, aggressive, I'm gonna move over because the sun is, like, in my eye. That aggressive kind of, like, pain management almost, like, where you're kind of, like, really processing it, like, just kind of, like, and you might kind of feel that happening naturally. Like, you might be crying a little bit less. You might be kind of like, just like stepping out of the processing phase and into the actualization phase. And then that's followed by the sun, which is such a positive card. Look at him. He's just on his back with the belly to the world. Like, he's just letting himself be seen, roaring like a lion. The sun is, we all have those periods of our lives. I like to think, at least. Like, even when we have painful experiences, I think we all have times of our lives where we're like, oh, this is it. This is the moment, right? Where you just feel the sun. Like, that's the sun energy. The sun card, I always have, like, a hard time explaining, because I'm like, imagine the best time of your life, baby. Like, imagine the best time of your life times 10. Like, like, I don't know what else to say, because it's so personal to the person, right? What we consider sun energy. Oh, and then we have the Nine of Cups on the bottom, which is pure emotional fulfillment. When I think of Nine of Cups, it tends to be more material emotional fulfillment, and the Ten of Cups tends to be more like relationships and home. So some of you might be getting your material affairs in order before you enter that Ten of Cups phase. I want to pull one card from this deck, and that's going to be the clarifier for this sun energy. Maybe something that can explain it a little better than I can. Treasure Island came out. I was hesitant to reach for this deck because there's kind of a lot of, like, not negative cards, but a lot of cards that are, like, really heavy in the self-work aspect. And I was like, I don't really know if this deck is going to be able to clarify the sun card. And then Treasure freaking Island comes out. Like, you can't make this up. You can't make this up. I'm going to read that from the book, because I think this deck is incredible. You've worked hard and acted upon your unwavering belief in abundance, and suddenly in the midst of it all, you hit the jackpot. You have uncovered the map to buried treasure and tapped the unlimited potential within you. What you must hone now is your ability to recognize when X marks the spot. because some of these golden opportunities may be obvious, but others might not be so readily apparent. Trust your intuition to light your way now as you enter this truly prosperous phase, where all the long, hard work navigating your inner life is now paying off externally in all aspects of your life at this time. Don't forget to enjoy it and share it with others, as treasure shared multiplies like magic. I'll just let you have a little look at that little turtle with a treasure chest on his back, and then like hearts and stars are coming out of it. He's so cute. I was just brought, oh my god, there's a giant crow in the tree. I was just being brought to my own life as an example to share of some of my sun energy I've been tapping into recently. And that is reconnection with consuming, which I know sounds like a little bit like capitalist, but I promise it's not like that. Consuming art, because for a long time when I was in this personal hermit experience in my own life, I would reach for consuming in like a really unhealthy way, like over-consuming. Well, I wouldn't even say over-consuming, kind of. Because I was seeking a dopamine hit and I thought that would give me it, when in reality, now that I'm healing and I've done the work, I'm able to consume traditional media like TV shows, books, because before when I was in this hermit phase, I couldn't do that. I literally, I didn't have the attention span for that because I was dealing with so much that I was like, I just need something that is going to distract me, and like TV wasn't enough to distract me, right? And now that I'm done the work, I can watch TV and actually consume it and be like, wow, that was great, and experience it, and read a book and experience it. And to me, that's sun energy. That is what I want from life, right? And that was coming from my validation wound, the inability to experience joy when watching that, because I was so deep into my validation wound that the only thing I wanted to do was either get a dopamine hit or do something that gave me validation, because validation was the only other way that I'd get a dopamine hit. Now that I've kind of throat chakra blockage, now that I've kind of worked on that, I've been able to be like, whoa, what do I actually enjoy, and not just stuff that seeks validation, right? And it's been great. So that's just something I felt called to share because I kept thinking about it. If you enjoyed today's reading, please don't forget to subscribe and like the video, because it really helps. If you don't know, YouTube runs on an algorithm that actually kind of hates me. So if you don't hate me, subscribe and help out the channel. I love you guys so much. I will see you in the next reading, and goodbye for now.